Hello everyone and welcome back. For those of you who don't know, my name is Claire. In this vlog I'm going to talk to you about the structure of medical school at Swansea University, and I'm going to go through a rough idea of what you can expect your timetable to look like. One of the great things about Swansea Medical School is that we have exposure to clinical practice really early, essentially from the first few months of med school. On the whole, the first half of medical school in all medical schools is mostly theory based, because obviously you need to understand and get to grips with the basic science, the anatomy and physiology and pathology of the diseases. The final 2 years, or the last half of medical school, is predominantly clinically based, where you can put that knowledge into practice. I think it's worked really well at Swansea Medical School to integrate clinical practice into the earlier years, as you can start to see the relevance of what you're learning from very early on in your placements. So within the first 2 years of medical school, you have GP placements and Locs, which stand for Learning Opportunities in a Clinical Setting. You also have a few 5-week general attachments in one area of medicine, for example, cardiology or anaesthetics. Those could be in any area of medicine or surgery, and they're just for you to generally get to grips with the work of a doctor and looking after patients in the hospital. So with those GP days that I just mentioned, you get 10 GP days spread throughout first year and 10 GP days spread throughout second year. Now these are really good, and at the beginning you start to see patients under supervision, but also are allowed to take histories on your own and then present back to the doctor, who then undertakes the full consultation. It's a really great way to start to implement your clinical skills and reasoning early on under the close guidance of a doctor. Now the Locs that I mentioned, I think personally were one of my absolute favourite things of the early years of Swansea Med School. There's a database where you book your Locs from, and this includes so many opportunities, from surgery, anaesthetic, to going in an ambulance with the paramedics, to shadowing the psychiatry doctor in the local prison. It's really absolutely anything, or even for example the pathology lab in Morrison Hospital. What's so good about these is that you can choose something that really interests you, but you could choose things that align with your learning weeks in the medical school itself. So for example, if you're learning about skin that week, you've got a dermatology week, you could book a dermatology Locs so that you can see what you've learned that week in practice to really reinforce and consolidate that learning. And you can do that with any of the specialties from any of the learning weeks that you have throughout the first 2 years. So what you also have in first and second year is 3 clinical apprenticeships. As I mentioned earlier, these are 5-week blocks that can be in any area of medicine or surgery in the hospital. And for these you can be placed not only within Swansea but also West Wales and North Wales, which is a really great opportunity to live away and explore another area. These placements are such good fun. I had general surgery in my first year clinical apprenticeship, and looking back, I really didn't know what to expect. I had a fabulous time in Carmarthen, and it's just really nice having a general placement like that early on, because it's the best way to understand how doctors work, from the junior doctors undertaking jobs throughout the day to maybe going to theatre with the consultant. You have clinical apprenticeships throughout year 1, 2, 3 and 4, so it's really nice to be able to see your progress and be able to undertake more and more responsibility throughout the clinical apprenticeships. You do actually get to put down your preferences for these, so you might be lucky enough to get something that you're most interested in. Third and fourth year are very heavy on the clinical placements. They're almost entirely clinical placements, and third year is divided into what we call specialty attachments, of which there are 8. These are your core placements that you need to become a junior doctor. Ours were cut down to 4 weeks because of the pandemic. They were a bit more squeezed in, but I still think it worked really well, and I've had a really good time on these because you learn so much about one specialty in a short period of time, and it's nice to be able to focus and have learning outcomes specific to undertake on the placement. These cover things like surgery, psychiatry, care of the elderly, obstetrics and gynecology, paediatrics and psychiatry. I finished 7 specialty attachments in third year, and we've got 1 more to go at the start of fourth year before undertaking our final clinical apprenticeships, and then what we go on to call junior assistantships. So that's first, second and third year. And in fourth year, as I mentioned, we have those few things to round off, And then we have junior assistantships. Now, I'm not too sure how those are going to be, but I'm really looking forward to them because I understand that you get a lot more responsibility in them as you're so close to finishing and becoming a doctor. I think you're able to undertake much more responsibility and work very closely alongside the junior doctor, really to prepare yourself for work in the months to follow. We have the elective as well in final year. Now, this is a placement of your choice in the UK or anywhere around the world in any specialty of your choice. This is such a great opportunity to undertake 4 to 5 weeks in your favourite specialty or a specialty that you think might really interest you, and you could choose to go away to explore a new area entirely or see what medicine is like in a different country in that specialty. Following that, we're actually very lucky in Swansea in our final placement to be attached to the F1 role you are going to undertake if you've chosen to stay in Wales. If you are due to start work in August in Wales, your final placement in medical school at Swansea will actually be shadowing that F1 you are then going to become 2 months later. I think that's a fabulous opportunity to get to know the ward, the patients, the doctors, because then when you start that job in August, you can really hit the ground running. So that's what the structure of Swansea Medical School looks like. I think the timetable and the schedule has been really well organised. I think it's been great, as I said earlier, to have clinical placements throughout right from the start. Now that I'm about to start final year, I can really see the benefit of having integrated clinical placement. You can really see yourself progress, and it just becomes more and more fun as you get more and more responsibility and see yourself stepping into those shoes of a junior doctor. I hope that's made it clear if you're a prospective or offer holder medical student for Swansea University. I wish you all the best of luck and see you in Swansea.